Come on, come on.
Recording is on.
There we go. Very big. All right. I'm going to click this little button here. Hello, everyone, and welcome to our virtual discussion of Shawndra McWhorter's What They Want Us to Know. We have Shawndra here with us today. As a reminder, you can purchase this book at our website at orcabooks.com. We'll put a link in the chat box on the left of the screen just for that. Let's see. Here's a little bio. Shawndra McWhorter has been knowingly communicating with animals since 2000 and is also a Usui and Karuna Reiki master. Did I say that right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, cool. Working with humans and animals. Shawndra is the past president of Washington State Animal Response Team. I've had too much coffee. And also serves as the board of directors with Kindred Souls Foundation. Both are 501c3 nonprofits. Let's see. Shawndra began her disaster animal response in 2005 after Hurricane Katrina made landfall, where she deployed outside of New Orleans, LA, to help rescue and care for the animals left behind. She has deployed to Chile, Peru, and several states in the US volunteering, helping animals recover from disasters. Shawndra volunteered with Wolf Haven International for nearly 8 years and is still active in supporting their mission. Oh, I like those guys. She is the owner of Sanskrit Healing, using her skills to help humans, animals, and the environment find balance. All right, so we advise to press the tile view button at the bottom of your screen to see Shawndra full screen. And then after this little reading, we will be doing a Q&A. We plan to record the event, as you heard. So if you don't want to appear on video, please keep your cameras disabled. You can do this at the bottom of your screen. Also, to make sure to enter your name. Please keep your mics muted most of the time. When it is time for questions, you can raise your hand and we'll call on you to unmute yourself and ask Shawndra your questions. Shawndra, I give the floor to you.
All right. So I decided to read the chapter on Norman the dog, who is the dog that shares my life with me right now. It just felt like the right thing to do. And I didn't even know he was going to be in the book, actually. But there he was. It came and said he had a message. So Norman is the dog who currently shares my life with me. And if you see the picture, you'll see he's absolutely adorable. In 2013, an EF5 tornado hit the vicinity of Moore, Oklahoma, causing $2 billion of damage, including the major destruction of 2 schools and more than 300 homes. It also killed 24 people. After the disaster, I volunteered with American Humane to help care for the animal survivors in an emergency shelter. I flew out there and was working with the feral cats and cats with feline immunodeficiency virus, FIV. A few days after I arrived, they brought in the last of the tornado dogs from the Moore Animal Shelter and put them in a quarantine area. The other volunteers working with all the other dogs spent all day cleaning crates and walking their dogs. Since I certainly wasn't taking the cats for walks, and feral cats wanted nothing to do with any of us, I had extra time, so I offered to help care for those quarantine dogs. As soon as I saw Norman, I was immediately drawn to him. He was so amazing and unique. He was just irresistible to me. He had some Shar-Pei features like a large muzzle and a wrinkled head, but he also had this gorgeous long reddish coat that looked nothing like a Shar-Pei. I'd never seen another dog like him at all. He was very interested in everything going on around him, but he was also extremely scared of humans when he was outside his crate. Each day I would do my chores, walk all the other quarantine dogs, and then spend a few extra minutes with Norman. I'd sit on the grass and he would move as far away as he could while on his leash, not wanting me to pet him. I'd hold out my hand and talk to him, telling him that he was safe. Eventually he started to let me barely touch him under his chin, and then after a bit, when I'd pull my hand back just a little, he'd take half a step toward me for a little more. I was thrilled. He was so brave and I was so proud of him. I was in love with this dog. I also knew that he could have a family out there looking for him. He didn't have any tags on his collar and he didn't have a microchip, but that didn't mean he didn't have a family. I made the decision that if no one claimed him, I would adopt him and bring him home to Washington State, where I currently live. But my volunteer time had ended, which meant I had to fly home and leave him there. Oh my gosh, the guilt. I told him that he would either find his family or he and I would see each other again. Either way, it would be a happy ending for him. I was crying and so sad to leave him, not knowing if I'd ever see him again. Thankfully for me, after the shelter went through all the processes to reunite humans with their animals, no one claimed him, and I was able to bring him home. To me, the emergency shelter, which was set up in the town of Norman, Oklahoma, represented new beginnings and healing for the animals and the community that had lost so much. And that is why my sweet angel is named Norman. So here's the message from Norman. Try to imagine what life would be like without animal companions. For a lot of you, that feels sad, lonely, incomprehensible even. We have chosen to be of service and to come into your lives to help you remember how worthy of love you are. Were you expecting something else? He smiles. Whether you believe it or not, this is one of our main purposes. One of the many gifts we give is to help humans remember how worthy of love they are and how capable they are of passing that on to another. We help show you how to be in every moment, how to embody unconditional love. We do this for you, and we do it so that once you truly believe it, you'll do it for another. We are here to help you feel. Whether we are domestic or wild, captive or free, anyone who sees us has the opportunity to choose how we make them feel. I feel your hesitation. Trust me and come with me. You get to choose how you feel when you see any animal. What do you feel and why? Ask yourself, why am I feeling this way? Not just happy animals, but wounded, lonely, scared, tortured animals too. Does it make you feel sad, angry, hopeless, lost, helpless? Good. Feel that and then ask why. Why do you feel this way? What is it about you that feels what you feel? What is it about you that maybe doesn't allow yourself to feel anything? That's an even deeper question. How many people turn away at the sight of something unpleasant? What if you could look with your heart and reach out to their hearts? What if by connecting to an animal and not turning away, you give it hope? Could you send a message to that animal that humans are able to go to the dark places in order to help another? What if you could actually stop the abuse and suffering by seeing it, not avoiding it? Do you see where I'm going? Can you imagine what it would be like for thousands and thousands of you to send love and gratitude to wounded, suffering animals? Do you feel the shift? Do you see how by standing firm in your commitment to help another, you actually do? Let me explain it another way. Let's say you see an animal not being treated well by its person. Let's say it's a farm animal that is being forced to work too hard and is clearly struggling. You see the human shouting at it to do more, go faster. What do you feel? Rage toward the human? Sadness for the animal? How have you helped that animal? What if you could send love and gratitude to that animal instead? Would that help the animal? Would that help the animal be able to see that not all humans are scary or mean? Could you also be helping the human? Where does their anger come from? Why are they mistreating their animal to begin with? Could you make a choice to add love or compassion to the situation? Is that a possibility? I think we can all agree that there's already enough anger and sadness going on. No need to add more to it. I'm not at all condoning violence or causing suffering. I'm also not saying that you should be happy about witnessing suffering. But if you're not in a position to remove the animal from the situation, how can you help? Do you turn your back on them in order not to feel? Or do you look at them and fill them with love? Your love may be the only good thing that happens to them. Do you see how that could shift everything? Can you give that animal and that human gratitude for helping you find more compassion than you thought you were capable of? I realize that this may be a stretch. Start slowly then. Love the animals that make you sad or hopeless. Help them see what a good human looks like and feels like. You can still feel sorrow that they're where they are, but haven't you also brought balance to their lives by loving them and being grateful to them? That was Norman's message.
Oh my gosh. Makes me want to go hug my dog.
Yeah. I was surprised. And I mean, I got to admit, and I say this later in the book, but I mean, I was one of those people that whenever you see the ASPCA ad with, when you hear Willie Nelson or Sarah McLachlan, and it's like, oh God, how quickly can I change the channel? After he gave me that message, I forced myself to stop and honor those animals. And it wasn't easy. I'm not going to lie. Mm-hmm. But I did feel a difference. I did feel like I was at least doing something. So even my own dog's message has helped me, and I'm hoping that it can help others too.
I know that commercial. That commercial is brutal.
It is.
All right. Shawndra, thank you for sharing that bit of your book with us. I guess my first question is, what inspired you to write this book in the first place?
Oh my goodness. And it was back like in 2004. I knew I was going to write this book. I knew the title of the book and I knew the concept of the book, but it took me until 2020 to actually be in a place where I was centered and focused and healed enough to do it. But it really was because after becoming an animal communicator in 2000 and then a Reiki master in 2002 and doing healing work and seeing how a lot of people will do more for their animals than they will do for themselves, to me, that felt like the path to healing and balance. And the more I spoke with animals, the more I realized they have something important to say. And a lot of their messages are for their humans that they're with anyway. And so the healing goes not just for them, you know, if something's wrong with it, with somebody's dog or cat or something, but it's kind of a lesson that helps the person as well. And so they brought me to it and just said, we want our voices to be heard.
Could you tell me a bit about how you took these two areas of your life, you know, your animal activism and your healing practices, and how both of these might have come together in the book? That's the sense I'm getting. Could you talk about that?
Yes, because I learned so much from like the disaster animal response. And I mean, to be honest with you, I don't do a lot of communication with animals when I'm in a disaster zone because it's so overwhelming. But what I can do is, since I've learned how to do it, is come from a place right from my heart and send them love, because they taught me that I can't fix everything. I mean, Katrina was the biggest lesson for me, that be in this moment. And that's all I have control over. I can't find their humans. I can't repair their houses. I can't rebuild anything. I can't fix the infrastructure. But this one dog on this one leash, I can give love and I can tell him, you're safe right now. You have a safe place to live. You have food, you have water, and I love you. And that's all I have control over. And that was a huge learning experience for me, to focus on that love and to focus on what can I do for this one animal. And that's what this book kind of feels like to me, is people will pick out one or two or however many lessons for them that will resonate, that may make a shift in how they really deal with themselves and their animals, the environment, who knows what.
I'm wondering, so there are 12 animals featured in this book, right?
Mm-hmm.
How did you choose these animals?
Good question. Yeah. So Joey, the dog, and he's the one who started me on all of this. I rescued a dog named Joey, a black lab, and he had been really severely abused. And he's the one who led me to communication, because I didn't know anything about this prior to 2000. I knew he would be in the book, and none of the others, I didn't know any of the others. And so what I did was, once I got to that place where I'm like, I'm writing this book, which was in May of 2000 or 2020. And I just started, I would have a dream about an animal, or like I found the owl feather in my yard, something like that. It was just like, I started making a list. And originally I thought it might be like 20 or 25 animals. I didn't know. And it ended up being these 12. And just as it came to me, in the order it is in the book, is how they showed up. And the only one I knew was Joey was going to be last. But all the others, just, it was like, you know, the owl feather came and I'm like, oh, we're talking to Owl today. And whatever it happened to be. And so it was really divinely guided. I don't inspired. I just trust. I just open myself up and say, okay, this is what it is.
Love that. Let's see. I'm going to open this up to the floor. See if anybody has any questions. Does anybody have any questions for Shawndra? You can unmute onto your camera. You can also just put it in the chat box if you're shy. Usually when I ask this, people go, nope. Okay. Well, I have more questions. So this kind of is the same, kind of going deeper into the last question I asked. What research went into writing this, besides having the animals come to you?
Yes, so I had to do some research on like rattlesnake, for example, because rattlesnake showed up. And I had always heard that the number of years, how many rattles they have is how old they are. And I was like, I better verify that before. And it was like, oh, that's not true at all. And it's like one rattle for every like 3 or 4 years or something. And it was completely different than what I thought I knew. And so those kinds of things, when the animals would come up to me, I wanted to explore more of what it was and verify, and like the message from bat, because I referenced when my family and I went to Carlsbad Caverns in New Mexico. And it's like, I want to make sure I'm remembering this correctly. And thankfully I was, where the bats come out and eat all the gnats, and well, the owls come and eat the bats. So, and that's why I admit, and it's like, I guess that makes me a speciesist, because I don't want to know about owls eating bats, but I'm okay with bats eating bugs. So it's like, okay, I own it.
Let's see. Can you tell me why you chose a book as the medium to get your message across? Why were you compelled to write a book instead of perhaps maybe a documentary feature or something else in that vein?
And I think a lot of it was, that's what I had access to right now, because I had thought over the years, and originally when I thought about it, I thought I would be going out and finding inspiration to, I'm going to talk to Grasshopper, and I would actually literally take that picture of Grasshopper right then and have that communication. And that's one reason, because it's like, I don't have good enough camera, to get those kinds of pictures. And my authoring coach, Karen Roy, and she was like, well, have you considered, they have stock photos, and if you already think the animals that are going to come to you, you could. I'm like, oh, well, duh. I don't have to actually go out and do that and spend money on cameras, of course. And it ended up, so that morphed into it. But I mean, I would love to do something like a documentary, because people are very visual, and they can see the response that the animals have to the communication or something like that. And especially troubled animals, when they respond to humans in a different way. And that's something that I've seen throughout my healing career, as well as that they respond differently when they know your intent. And animals, I really believe, pick up on your intent, whether they can trust you or not, or when you're there. I've worked on horses a lot, and I get down and I work on their legs or under their belly, and I'm working on them. I've got my hands on them, and people are just like, I can't believe they're just standing there letting you do it. And they're so relaxed. And it's like, because I went in without any judgment, and it wasn't any expectation of, I want you to do this or you need to do that. It's just, what do you need? And I'll see what I can do for you. So, and that's another thing too. I mean, when people ask me about communication, it's like, tell my dog to stop barking, tell my cat to do, and it's like, I don't tell animals to do anything. I will ask them questions and say, why are you doing this? And then maybe find a reason why that they're stressed, or the neighbor kids are bothering them, or they hate the litter box, or whatever it happens to be. And then find a reason why they're doing a behavior that isn't something that you want them to do. But you and I can speak, and you can hear the words I'm saying, you understand the words I'm saying, but I can't make you do anything. Mm-hmm. And it's the same thing with animals. I don't just tune into an animal and say, stop barking, and they're like, oh, okay. No, not that easy. They have free will too.
Dang, I really want my dog to.
I
know. Okay. To round us out, Shawndra, would you be willing to read us one more chapter to send us home?
Yes, let me see, because and Norman is right here with me and thinking that it's dinner time. And just because I can communicate with animals doesn't mean I can, when they're in their physical bodies, that's just, so let me actually, since I'm talked about bat, let's do the message from bat.
Okay.
And I won't do my prelude into it. I'll just do, this is the message from bat. So it's obvious, isn't it? We're all learning from one another. All of us. Everyone is teacher and student. Everyone. I use my heightened senses to make my way through the world. I don't have to think about it. Your scientists are finally discovering that your heart, not your brain, is your information center. Yet still so many depend on thought processes to make their way through the world. Yes, we all need our brains, of course. Many of you are being called to find your way by listening to your heart. Your heart doesn't lie. It can't. Your brain, though, can and does. Each one can choose what they teach and learn. Are you teaching love, tolerance, kindness, graciousness, gratitude, compassion? Or are you teaching hate, blame, shame, intolerance, greed? Ask yourself how you navigate your own life. Be honest with yourself about what you're teaching and what you're learning. Then see if that makes your heart happy or not. If not, then what are you able to shift to make your heart happy? Sorry, I just realized that my book. It's kind of something weird. Well, isn't that interesting? Let me just get, that was on my Kindle. Let me just get my actual book. Isn't that interesting?
I love technical difficulties.
I know, right? Okay. Okay, here we go. So, if not, then what are you able to shift to make your heart happy? Oh, dear humans, you have tried for so long and so hard to make the paths you've chosen the right paths. Your head just won't consider that maybe it's time to try something else. How many have been killed to prove this? How many more need to be killed before you will listen to your heart centers and find a new path? One that might not require wars, hate, killing, and so much judgment. There are those of you who have attempted to alter or change the path of humanity, so far unsuccessfully. We have not given up on any of you, nor will we. We continue to honor our paths, all while sending you messages in the hopes that these messages will be heard by those of you who are able to create change. As you just heard those words, what image came to mind? A politician, a famous person, a very wealthy person? Those are not the people to whom I'm referring to. I'm referring to each individual. Yes, each one of you has the power to affect change. It may not be a global impact immediately, but it could be after a bit of time passes. You have the power and the ability to create shifts and movement for humanity, to be far more connected to all that is. You do. I want you to trust me, and I also want you to trust what your heart is telling you as you hear these words. We're not expecting any of you to make drastic changes. That isn't necessary and may not even be helpful. You can, though, make numerous small adjustments to how you think, how you react, how you help or don't help, how you choose to be more aware, how you choose to be kind and tolerant. Do you see how easy it is? It won't cost you anything except listening to your heart. It doesn't matter what anyone else does. You, though, can be aware and use the heightened senses that you may not know you have. You've always had them and had access to them. Tap into them now if you choose to and feel the connection. Feel me sending you love and encouragement. So that was what Bat had to say.
I love it.
Yeah. And there's a common theme. I mean, they really, each one in a different kind of way talks about connection, talks about love, listening from our heart, tolerance, kindness, acceptance, compassion. They really have a higher message for us that they want us to be the humans we can be, that they think we are. You know, you probably have heard, now I want to be the person my dog thinks I am. And from what I discovered writing this book, the animals think that we are those people. It's just up to us to actually walk into it.
That's amazing. That's great.
This is a W. You see me on your screen as W, I think.
Yeah, Wilbur?
Yeah, that's right. Hey, I have a question if it doesn't take too long.
Yeah, go for it.
I live in Olympia and I love Orca. You guys are great. I hope you're doing well. If you could, many of the animals you talked about so far are like domestic animals who have kind of genetically become connected to humans. And that's wonderful. Cats, dogs, etc. So if you could consider the animal kingdom those, and then on the other continuum, perhaps the really wild beasts that are still decreasingly in our presence, wild birds, wild anything that are largely self-sufficient unless we destroy their habitat. But then in history, in human history, maybe from 1900 backwards especially, the quote beasts of burden that were a big part of human economy and life. I don't know if I haven't read your stuff. I'm sorry I haven't, but if they could comment, what might I don't know, let's say on the Oregon Trail in 1850 and all the great westward migration, which depended upon oxen largely to tow the loads. And that's what their job was. And then they starved or died and continued on. What sort of possible if you don't have any idea, I understand, but they lived lives and served and lived and died, and but they were tools.
Mhm.
I don't know what sort of message I could expect for them to have given, because there really aren't that many left that do that in our Western culture. But I'm interested in what you might have to say. Thanks.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Yeah, in the Western culture, we don't use them as much anymore. We have technology, we have machines and things. But, and I do have, in the book, there are some messages from wild animals like cheetah and cougar, tarantula, rattlesnake, bat, owl, orca. But that's a really good thing. I haven't actually thought about going back in time and seeing them when they were, as you say, the beasts of burden, and what they would say about that, especially how they're treated. And I do see how we have shifted from, a lot of people had like farm dogs, for example, and if they started killing chickens, they just killed the dog. I mean, it wasn't a family member. And so our attitudes have shifted as well. But yeah, that's really interesting. That's a really good question. And I mean, part of me is I'm projecting, and I'm not tuning into any of these animals right now, but I mean, part of me is projecting as they're honoring their path. And that's one thing I learned from writing this book, is some of them that had difficult situations. It wasn't just about how it impacted me, but they had a path. Okay. They had their own karma, if you will, to go through and explore, and it just happened to intersect with mine. So I don't know that any of them would say, and again, this is me projecting, I don't know that any of them would say, oh, I was really happy to be starved or beaten to death. But they don't look at it the same way humans do. They don't look at death, for example, the same way humans do. They see it as basically changing clothes, because, and this is something I've learned from the animals, is that the spirit does not die. They just basically change form. They're no longer in a physical body. And they would, from my experience talking with animals who have passed on, they don't have regrets. They don't have anger. They don't hold grudges. And it's more about, I honored what I was supposed to do. I came here and I did what I was intending to do. Right. And I hope I made some difference. I hope I opened some hearts. I hope I opened some minds, and things like that. So again, I'm just guessing that it would be along those kinds of lines. But that's a really good thing that, you know, I may do in the future too, is go back, especially something really a specific animal or something, or a breed of horses. Or, I mean, I guess we could do it even like with the Mustangs right now.
Yes.
How do they feel in the Southwest being targeted? But,
thanks. That was interesting. I know it's kind of off center to ask that, but I've always wondered how. Yeah. Since I heard about your work, what sort of contact could have been between these animals that were just engines for commerce, basically, at one time. Thanks.
Yeah. Great question.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Shawndra, did I hear correctly that orcas are one of the animals?
Yes, Princess Angeline, actually.
Hello, you're talking about the books. What do orcas have to teach us?
Oh, let's hear what Princess Angeline, and you know who Princess Angeline is, right?
She's personally don't. Could you tell us?
She is the one, yes. And let me find her now that I know I can't trust my Kindle to be the one. Princess Angeline, she is the one. She's actually the mother to Taliqua. And Taliqua was the one who gave birth to that calf that she carried for over 1,000 miles on her nose. And then just recently had a second calf that was born alive, thank goodness. But Princess Angeline has passed on, but she was kind of the matriarch of the J-Pod.
Okay.
And so she was, J17 was her number. And actually what I'll do is I'll just read a little bit about my intro to her, because it explains a little bit for those who don't really know. Princess Angeline, J17, was a member of the resident J-Pod of orcas in the Pacific Northwest. She died at the age of 39 and was a mother of 4 and a grandmother of 3. You may have heard of her daughter Taliqua, J35. Taliqua was the mother orca who in 2018 swam more than 1,000 miles in 17 days while carrying her dead calf on her nose, mourning the loss of her offspring. It's a sad and fascinating story, and while this garnered worldwide attention, there remains much to do in order to help the struggling orcas survive and be healthy. The amazing news, though, is that in September of 2020, Taliqua gave birth to a healthy orca calf. I came to know Princess Angeline while working with my We Are the Walrus Power of 8 group. We came together while taking a one-year class with Lynn McTaggart, an American alternative medicine activist, lecturer, journalist, author, and publisher. Every week, our group gets together online and follows Lynn's Power of 8 program to bring about healing and balance. It was during one of our intentions that Princess Angeline showed up for me. We were sending an intention to bring love, hope, and healing to the Orcas, and I remember her presence, her grace, her intelligence, her incredible power. I was in awe. I hadn't known her name or what pod she belonged to at that time, but I vowed to find out. I needed to know more about her. Since then, Princess Angeline shows up every so often to add her wisdom, her grace, and her inspiration to our group. She's become especially connected with one of my friends in the group, Nancy. The two of them have had an amazing journey together, one I believe will continue for many years. Here's the message from Princess Angeline. Dear ones, I must begin by telling you that as you read my words, I'm with you, and I'm overjoyed to be connecting with you. As an Orca, I was able to make an impression on humans, on the water, and all that is in the water. Slow down here for just a bit. Feel your heartbeat. Feel your breath. Feel the rise and fall of each breath. Feel the connection to our mother we call Earth. Feel me with you and feel you with me. It goes both ways, and each one feels different, doesn't it? See if you can feel the blackness of the world just outside of the one you're in. You will not get lost, I promise it. Feel me as I close the gap. Did you just realize that there was no gap? She smiles. Does it make you wonder how it's possible? Does it make you wonder how you haven't noticed it before? Does it make you wonder what else there is? Good, dear ones, good. Keep wondering, keep wandering, keep seeking, keep trusting those feelings you have that tell you there is so much more than our conscious brains know. Those feelings are your soul remembering where we came from, why we're here, and what the next steps could be. Even though there is no gap, we're all connected. We each have different paths, different experiences, and different promises to keep. Yet even though they're different for all of us, they will bring us all closer and closer to each other and to a path that not only remembers, but rejoices in the way we have traveled to get here. You are beautiful, you are amazing, and you are here for a very specific and valuable reason, as am I and all the others. Oh, dear ones, I'm excited for you as you take these next steps, and I'm so grateful to be connected to you again. I say again, because you're on your way to remembering that there never was any separation at all. Your path is perfect. Your path is necessary. Your path matters tremendously, and your path is why you're here. Are you wishing your path had been different? Please do not. You wouldn't be here, right now, if it had been different. You are needed. Your soul is needed, and you know that. When you slow down and feel your heartbeat, when you connect with the gap that does not exist, you know this to be true. Knowing this truth feeds you and brings you closer and closer to remembering more and more and more in order to share with others. I have never left. None of us ever has. Shapeshift with me and the others and feel the connection, the unity, and the pure love that we all are.
Yay!
Hey, isn't she amazing?
She's wonderful.
And you know what's interesting is because I had to go back and reread their messages because I could remember the introduction, chapter 1, and the last chapter, and what I said about each animal because I wrote it. But with them, I didn't remember their individual messages. I had to go back and read it because all I did was translate it.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's why for me, I learned so much just writing it because it wasn't me going, oh, that sounds neat. It really was, because there's some concepts in here that I was just like, what? Okay.
You're just the middleman.
That's right. That's all
Is that your dog?
This is Norman, yes, and it's dinner time, but he's doing pretty well actually. So he's,
okay.
Yeah. If I could get him up on the couch, you'd see him, but no, he's not going to cooperate. So.
Totally fine. Don't worry about it.
I can't make him do anything. So.
Well, Shawndra, it has been such a pleasure. Thank you again for coming and sharing with us today.
Thank you,
everybody,
Karuna.
order what they want us to know, we're going to have that link up on our Facebook and Instagram. And you can order that and get that. And then this video should be up hopefully within the next 2 days. Depends on how fast I can get around to that. But yeah, Shawndra, this was a great time. Thank you so much.
This was. I really appreciate you having me, Jonah, and taking all the time, and everyone who joined. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you. This is Wilbur. Thanks very much.
Thank you.
Have a good day.
Okay. Bye-bye. Take care.
You too.